Hello, I'm Sandrine Camia, Deputy Director of Monaco Tourism Board, proud sponsor of Virtuoso Sustainability Forum under one sky. The small principality may not be the first place that comes to mind when you think of sustainable tourism destination. For the past decade and a half, the country, with the world's shortest coastline, has had an outsider voice in the international community on environmental protections and climate action. More than 100 years ago, Prince Albert I was one of the great minds of his time. A renowned oceanographer, a fearless humanist, and a defender of the seas. Preservation of the planet and the oceans is a family heritage, and since his accession to the throne in 2005, Prince Albert II perpetuates the personal commitment of his great-great-grandfather for the environment. In June 2006, after a trip to the Arctic region, he decided to create his foundation in order to respond to growing threats to the environment of our planet. Since then, it has supported some 530 projects around the world at a cost of $60 million. The Prince is also guiding his country towards cutting Principality's greenhouse gas emission by 30% by 2030 and to reach total carbon neutrality by 2050. We hope to achieve a sustainable model for the best of our visitors without taking anything away from the glamorous and luxurious reputation we have already built. So what kind of a green experience you could expect? All Virtuoso Hotel members have signed up to Sustainable Pledge. They all encourage responsible use of resources. Monaco is one of the very few countries that you can explore on your feet. It takes only 45 minutes to walk from east to west. You could also take advantage of the transport system with multiple options of green transportation, including e-shuttle boat, e-bikes, e-car sharing, hybrid buses, and limousine service with electric cars. While fine dining may be on the menu when visiting Monaco, there are many restaurants locally sourced food and cooking fair trade products. One-of-a-kind experience is the Formula E Prix Championship, which will be on the full Monaco Formula One track for the first time on May 8, 2021. I will conclude the presentation with a recording of a message delivered by His Royal Highness the Prince Albert II on the occasion of the 50th Earth Day. Prince Albert delivers a message of hope, but also a call of a new equilibrium between human and nature, because each of us has a key role to play to shape a better, sustainable world.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, on the occasion of this 50th Earth Day, and while our world is experiencing an unprecedented health crisis, I'd like to send you a message of hope and mobilization. Over the past few weeks, our lives have changed at an unprecedented speed. These upheavals will inevitably continue. It is up to us to turn this situation to our advantage to ensure that the current suffering leads to a better world. The human frailty we are seeing should lead us to think about our priorities and reinventing our relationship with nature. Through the tremendous social and economic changes it is bringing about, and which is bound to do for many months, perhaps many years still, this crisis should prompt us into protecting our planet, its climate, biodiversity, and oceans more effectively. Today we know that we can achieve this objective. Under the threat of the coronavirus, in just a few days, we have not only had to, but also have been able to, adapt all our ways of living, giving up things that we thought were essential and take into consideration realities of which we were unaware of up until now. We also have listened, sometimes rather late, sometimes with difficulty, to the warnings from the scientific community and followed its recommendations. Faced with the environmental threat, we need to be able to call the same things into question, make the same efforts, and more importantly, demonstrate the same responsibility and same solidarity. In addressing climate change, just as in addressing the coronavirus, our individual actions and efforts, the responsibility of each one of us, will help us to overcome the climate urgency, which is also putting us in jeopardy. It is the choices each one of us makes that will enable us to save our environment. Let us not miss this opportunity. Keep well, be safe, and please, stay at home. Thank you.
Welcome to Under One Sky, and thank you for joining us virtually this year. As you just heard, Virtuoso has been committed to sustainability for more than a decade, and we were proud the network was recognized for our efforts with a World Tourism Award for Sustainability in 2019. Last year, one of the hottest topics was over-tourism, and now we're facing an economic and conservation disaster from under-tourism. In 2009, when people were chaining themselves at Heathrow to stop people from flying, I had attended the WTTT summit in Brazil. It was there that a prophetic thesis was offered by Costas Christ. He suggested to his fellow environmental colleagues that if there was some magical switch that you could stop travel dead in its tracks, it could end up being the greatest conservation disaster on the planet. Well, here we are. Because sustainability isn't just about the environment. It's also about the preservation of natural and cultural heritage and benefiting local economies. Travel can be a force for good, and we should all play a part in amplifying that mission. As Jessica has urged us, start where you are, and no shame and no blame. Virtuoso partners all over the world are doing amazing things, and we can help match them with global travelers who are increasingly looking for their travel to make a positive difference. Now, some have said that sustainability has taken a back seat in this global lockdown. Of course, health security will be paramount for quite some time, if not forever changed in its role in travel. But we also believe there's a strong corollary between sustainability and a traveler's perception of health and wellness standards. We predict that some of the early recovery long-haul travelers will also be those who travel for a deeper purpose, to connect with nature, culture, and meaningful experiences. At the Travel and Leisure Rising Stars Lunch at ILTM last year, our friend Peter Bates asked about sustainability. And sadly, many advisors said clients weren't asking. I couldn't contain myself and interjected. Imagine that. Why wait to be asked? We can take a leadership position, one that I promise you can and will be profitable. In fact, Sir Richard Branson said it best many years ago. We need to align with what's good for the planet with what's good for people. This year's Under One Sky aims to provide you with a logic funnel, starting from capital markets to country to company to agency and to advisor, with one goal: provide evidence that profit and purpose go hand in hand. So it's my pleasure to hand it over to a very passionate champion of sustainability, I should know, Jessica Upchurch.
Thank you, Matthew. Yes, I'm very passionate about sustainability. I grew up with a deep connection to nature and the richness of cultural diversity. And that's not only benefited me, but our entire family. We've been awed by the great work of so many Virtuoso partners and destinations over the years. So a decade ago, we decided we needed to shine a light on their transformational efforts because we believed, and still do, it was the greatest way we could contribute to their success. We focused on showcasing their work to Virtuoso clients, advisors, and the press through the launch of our Sustainability Awards, articles in our award-winning publications, our blogs, social media, and through advisor training to help them share with their clients what our partners are doing and motivate them to support those efforts with their travels. In mid-2016, we felt it was a time to amplify our efforts, given the UN had designated 2017 as the year of sustainable travel. I wondered how we could dive deeper to understand it, not just intellectually, but through direct experience. So I told Matthew that our family holidays in 2017 would be to some of Virtuoso's most notable and award-winning sustainable partners and destinations. And not just visiting these places, but really engaging in the sustainability stories and success. And by meeting and getting to know those responsible for making it happen. And indeed, it was transformational. It energized us to establish the Sustainability Council and hold our first meeting at Virtuoso Travel Week. The council was comprised of a diverse group of leading CEOs and leaders from Virtuoso partners of sustainability programs, many of them previous winners of our awards, as well as advisors who had served as judges for those awards. Everyone on the council volunteered due to their passion and dedication for the cause. The first order of business was to clarify Virtuoso's role and validate how we could add the most value. Our guiding framework has been the white paper from that first meeting, and its conclusion led to one simple and yet meaningful mission: to make sustainability a greater factor in traveler choice, so those who are doing good are financially successful, making it all a virtuous cycle. Sustainability has also become one of our playbook strategic anchors, embedded in all we do as a company. Over the past 3 years, we've expanded our awards, funded a dedicated section in Virtuoso Live for sustainable content, and dedicated resources to an ongoing effort to provide better reference materials and to learn about sustainable offerings. Coming into 2020, we launched our sustainability community, added sustainability experiences and themes on Wanderlist, and sustainability will be one of our new inspiration categories of the Virtuoso.com. It has been gratifying to see so much progress on the goals of the white paper, and there's so much more to do. And this global under-tourism disaster is devastating. It shows us why this never was about the environment alone, but also about the benefit of sustainable travel to local economies and their role in conservation. But there is hope. We have seen how quickly nature can regenerate herself. This global timeout has given us proof positive that it has also shown us the dangers of under-tourism. That's why we need a conscious comeback, combining what's good for the planet with what's good for the people. We realize the financial realities and pain felt by our friends throughout the industry, but that pain is also having a few positive outcomes, like the retirement of aging aircraft and ships, which had a significant negative impact on the environment. We are also seeing some new realizations, like the UK officially adopting the idea of doctors prescribing time in nature. How cool is that? If you'd like to enjoy some inspiring sustainability travel stories, I recommend you watch the Netflix original Down to Earth with Zac Efron and Darren Olean. They share beautifully captured stories of sustainability in both remote destinations and city centers, like the little-known story of the Paris water system. And that's why I'm so excited about this Under One Sky event and sharing stories of success and positive action. I was fortunate enough to sit down with several industry experts, starting with capital markets, then a country, a company, an agency, and an advisor. All share great examples of our white paper's vision becoming reality. First up, I'm sitting with Joel McCower, as he and I discuss findings that show companies using environmental, social, and governance practices, also known as ESGs, can be more profitable than companies that do not. Thank you, Joel, for joining us. We're really excited to have you. We have just a bit of time, so let's jump right to it. Tell us why Wall Street is so focused and interested in sustainability all of a sudden.
For years, Wall Street did not get sustainability. They saw it as some fringe thing, some nice to do, sort of a crunchy kind of thing that people with progressive values would invest a small part of their money and probably not get as good returns as a result for investing in these so-called socially responsible funds. But that's changed in the last few years. In fact, sustainability has moved from the margins to the mainstream. It's sitting right in the middle of Wall Street. And it's for a very fundamental reason. Wall Street finally figured out that sustainability is a proxy for good management and growth and innovation, that the companies that rate well from a sustainability perspective in what's called ESG, environmental, social, and governance metrics, actually do better in the market. And the sustainability funds are proving that. Over the last several months, the last couple of quarters, a market basket of so-called sustainability funds outperforms the S&P 500 and other standard indices of stock performance. So that's money begets more money, success, nothing like that in terms of wanting to follow the money. And so that's creating this sort of stampede in effect for how do you, first of all, find those companies, and then how do you invest in them?
Wow, that's amazing. Why do you think sustainability is so important now, particularly in the situation we find ourselves in?
It all boils down to, one word: risk. There's lots of different kinds of risk: financial risk, reputational risk, right to operate risk, technology risk, stranded assets, all kinds of things. But Wall Street finally realized that this is pure and simple. It's not about doing the right thing, although it's important to do that, but it's really about mitigating risk, that companies that are sustainability leaders have better risk profiles. That's part of it. The other part of it is that societal expectations are changing. We now look to the private sector for leadership on climate change, for clean air and clean water, for toxics in our life and things like that, largely as an absence of governmental leadership, and not just in the United States, but around the world, that understands that the business understands that this is what needs to happen. And we're, whether you're a consumer of a company, an employer, prospective employee, or an investor, or even a neighbor, you are now looking to those companies to be part of the solution. And companies recognize that they need to do more than window dressing, that making a statement or showing solidarity isn't necessarily enough, that you've got putting out a great commitment is a good start, but it's not enough. You have to have demonstrable performance. And the other side of that is that companies recognize that as a result of these expectations, there's a great opportunity for innovation, new products, new services, sometimes even new business models. And that's the really exciting part, the opportunity side of sustainability. And we're seeing that across all sectors, including the travel and transportation sectors. This is vast outpouring of new technologies, new ideas, new business models of how do you provide these services, these very valuable and critical services to the world in a way that not only doesn't harm the world, but actually helps. And that's the last part of it, is that we've gone from this era of companies inadvertently doing the wrong thing as just the normal course of business, to companies deliberately doing the right thing, and recognizing that how do we not just do less bad, but how do we become restorative and regenerative? And of course, in travel and destination travel, that's a critical component. Is how do we make sure that not just that these amazing places in the world survive, but actually, in many cases, reverse some of the degradation that we humans have brought to that, and in making them better than we found them in the first place. So there's lots of opportunity there to do the right thing, do well, do good, all those trite phrases, and Wall Street and everybody else will appreciate it.
You know, you've hit on a very important thing, specifically travel and tourism. A year ago, we were worried about over-tourism, and now we're looking at conservation and economic disaster of under-tourism. What do you say to people who comment on how well the planet is doing now with much less travel? Travel is the largest service industry in the world. How do you correlate that?
Yeah, I mean, we're going through a critical reset now. We're re-looking at everything we do in this moment through whole new lenses. And it's really, there's really three components. One is obviously the recession or depression in some sectors. There's climate change and all that that's bringing to the world, and particularly, potentially going to hit hard the travel and tourism industry. And then the social justice movement, Black Lives Matter, access to food and clean air and clean water, and all of these other things that everybody deserves and only a relatively small portion of humanity actually gets. They're all about individual responsibility and collective action. They're about structural change. So, we are rethinking how we look at problems, how we look at solutions. We're looking at afresh, I think, at what's possible. How do we take some of these huge, amazing, wicked problems that we face in the world and address them proactively and profitably? And I think, again, there's huge opportunities there for business to become part of the solution and prosper in the process.
So what would you say to travel industry advisors and partners? What would you say they should be thinking about in regards to sustainability?
I think it's really important to understand the nature of the problems and also to understand some of the solutions, some of the things that leadership companies are doing, and some of them are some of the world's biggest companies, and some of them are small innovative startups, social enterprises that are coming into the picture, or small tech companies that are providing some kinds of solutions. And to think about, again, what's possible. My favorite words in sustainability, and probably beyond that, my favorite questions in sustainability all begin with the same 4 words. What would it take? So what's your what would it take question? What would it take to bring travel and tourism back to where it was? What would it take to become part of the solution to some of the pressing social and environmental challenges? What would it take to be a regenerative or restorative travel partner, and not just a user of these services? And it can be anything from the personal to the planetary. What would it take question? But I think that's where it all begins.
Fantastic. That was bold and powerful. Thank you so much, Joel. We enjoyed having you here. What a great opportunity for all our community around the world to hear your message of hope and, quite frankly, practicality. Appreciate you so much. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Hearing how large, internationally recognized companies have made the decision to implement ESG practices for both ethical and practical reasons shows that the time is right for change on a major scale. So from Wall Street to a country, we are going to move to a discussion with someone many of you know. Penny Rafferty, who was recently named Head of Sustainability for Tourism Australia and is an influential voice on our Sustainability Council. Hi, Penny. So great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us for Under One Sky.
Oh, Jessica, thank you so much for having me.
Our absolute pleasure. We have a short amount of time, so let's make the most of it because I know you've got many wonderful things to share with us. You've had an amazing position in Tourism Australia, and they've now created a role specifically that is Head of Sustainability. Can you tell us what motivated them to create that role and focus on sustainability?
It's been a long time coming. I guess a few recent events have obviously accelerated the decision making, but we've seen for a number of years that our natural appeal and an increasing number of our hero Australian products and experiences, a sustainability legacy is at their core. It's part of their DNA. And in terms of the high-value traveller that we appeal to, there was a natural corollary that this was the right thing to do. And our role really is quite deceptively simple. It's to advocate and storytell and educate. But bringing the notions and the imperative for measure of positive impact, people, planet, place, culture, community, conservation, to the fore. And now more than ever, while we know that there's this intention of people to travel better, we're hoping that there is a resonance with that. I am a bit of a natural cynic. I think, people's habits don't break that easily. So if there is leadership shown, then potentially we can keep drawing that changed intention to travel better, and make the most of what's otherwise a fairly, crazy situation. All of our natural touch points lead to this, our natural environments, our Indigenous heritage, our, so many of these things really lend themselves to this desire for positive impact, meaningful connection, all of those words that we all hear so often in our industry that describe consumer trends.
That's beautiful, and what great insight. And what can you share from your work in this role that demonstrates how Australia is really finding that this focus on sustainability can also be good for business?
Yeah, okay, so we're a destination custodian. We can't necessarily measure the individual businesses, but I think there's an increasing acknowledgement in the business world that if you put business purpose and positive measures of impact as well as profit on the same page, the real success stories are the ones that have a clear purpose and have a positive impact. What we've done, though, is more measure what I call halo effect. So Australia is the size of the USA. We've got barely 25 million people. Our regional locations, lots of them World Heritage, UNESCO sites, that kind of thing, have genuine appeal. There are over 300,000 tourism businesses in Australia, and the vast majority of them are small, very small, 1 to 4 person businesses. They rely on tourism enormously, particularly in regional Australia. And just as an example, and this started with the Luxury Lodges of Australia project that I've worked on, started a few years ago, measuring the halo effect. What is the impact of a single business on the regional economy and the lifeblood of tourism, of Australia's tourism industry? And across 19 lodges, there were well over 1,600 other businesses that were visible to guests, that were part of the rich, experience that was offered, that were part of that guest experience. So in regions, that's, anything from the gin distiller to the fabric maker, to the artist, to the specialist guide. It's, and it's visible to guests, and they are local businesses that benefit from a really well delivered hero product. That concept has also been measured through our Signature Experiences of Australia program, which is 8 collectives, some 170 businesses, and then you end up with over 8,000 other businesses that are direct beneficiaries, visible to guests of their operation in regional Australia. So it's vital to economic nutrition to our regional economies. And, rising sustainability is more than that now. It's a veritable flood, and it's the right thing to do. So we have to focus on this, just as many businesses are reframing, rebuilding, reimagining, all those words that are a really dominant part of our life now. If we can show leadership and encourage those businesses to reframe for a sustainable future, it'll ensure the future sustainability of the whole industry.
So dependency and interdependency of jobs. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, there's an imperative with this rising, with the need to really address sustainability from a business point of view. I think, and this particularly through a global network like Virtuoso, there's a massive opportunity, which is why I love your logic funnel, to show leadership and encourage, from travel advisors being able to say to their clients, hey, I don't know everything, but this is the right thing to do, or this is a great way for you to have greater impact and for yourself as well as where you're going, and have the courage to do that, and for businesses to actually benefit from that at the other end, that this is sustainable. And then in between, the lands and the people and the culture and the wildlife benefits through education and light touch positive impact visitation.
That's wonderful. Talk about benefiting local economies. That's great. We've got just a couple minutes left. Given the success you've seen in Australia, let me know about some of the advice you can give to other destinations.
Yeah. Well, you've heard me say this before. The fact, I think we have to wean governments, media, industry associations off using numbers of people growth as the dominant metric. Obviously, it's important, but there are other metrics that have to be factored into how we address tourism, and whether that's that can be it has to be relevant to the destination. So. And putting the human connection back into tourism. I hate it when I read headline, X number of tourists increased by, and it's so depersonalized, it's so dehumanized. And I think we do potentially have an impact on people's behaviors because they feel a bit dehumanized. So if we can put that human connection back in, Matthew would love that. They're his words. The other thing is that sustainability is such a big word. It means something different to everybody. And I always remember when you said, at the first Sustainability Council, we just start from where we start. but also we don't need to predefine. People work in such vastly different environments. Sustainability covers so many different aspects. As destination marketing organizations, our role is deceptively simple. It is to advocate and educate for people who are businesses that are doing it well, and make sure that we are very clear about the values that we invite in terms of the guests that come to our country, that we try to match what they value with what we value in our tourism offering.
Beautifully said. Your role as an advocate is so powerful, and you've expressed it in so many ways. You've given us much to take away and to think about. Wonderful to see you. Hope to see you sooner than later. Thanks so much, Penny.
Thank you, Jessica. Me too. Take care.
Now we'll hear from a longtime partner and friend of Virtuoso, Joss Kent. Joss has been in the travel business his entire life, former CEO of Ambion and currently their executive chairman. Ambion is working on a case study demonstrating how for-profit companies with a solid income can align purpose and profit. Hi, Joss. Great to have you today. Thanks so much for joining us for Under One Sky.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Jessica. Really keen to be a part of this and impart whatever knowledge I can share.
Yeah, I know you have much to share, so let's get right to it. Ambion has been a great partner to Virtuoso for many years, and thank you for that. And during that time, you've achieved many incredible milestones. So tell us about the case study that you're working on by sharing a few of the key elements.
Certainly. Within Ambion and wider afield, there always seems to be a question as to whether profit and purpose can coexist and live on the same sheet of paper. And I guess for any conservation sustainability company, that's the balancing act that we have between making money and spending it on our sort of impact agenda. And I'm often told they don't or shouldn't coexist on the same page. You're either sort of a non-profit bent, and you can't have red-blooded capitalism conjoined with purpose. Now, I want to refute that entirely and use the Ambion case study as a hard example. So for the bankers, investment bankers, the hard-nosed financial people, when they're looking at companies, they want metrics, right? They want money numbers. And they want to see companies that are growing fast and profitable and sustainable. And then on the other side, they look at purpose, and they seem to think that's a separate kind of lens through which to look. You know, what animals have you saved? What communities have you supported? How much plastic have you got rid of? Well, I'm going to stick them both together and give you the Ambion view. So to give you the hard numbers from an Ambion perspective, over the last 10 years, we've run a revenue growth rate of above 15% compound annual growth rate in revenues. That's only useful if it's profitable. EBITDA is the metric by which all bankers measure profitability for most businesses. We've been running a 34% compound annual growth rate in EBITDA over a 10-year period. We run 48% EBITDA margins. And we also run what we call management cash flow, which is net cash flow of what drops out the bottom of the business. We measure that because that's what we invest in all our lodges and our impact agenda. That has been rising about 30% a year for 10 years and runs a net cash flow margin of about 30%. Any banker who looks at that and take the Ambion name of it, and if you just said, what kind of company is that? I can promise you they would not say this is a conservation sustainability enterprise. They'd say that's just like fast moving consumer goods, or so even a sort of nearly a fintech type view. So those are the hard numbers, and we're preparing a Harvard Business School case study. So I'm happy to share them. On the same side of the balance sheet of profit versus purpose, you can achieve that by not investing in stuff. And we've done those numbers as well. We've invested about $28 million into lodges in the last 5 years alone. Now, what money have we made back on that? Bank is always looking for return on investment. Well, we're running about 40% return on investment of our money invested. Again, bankers listening to this, their ears are going to go up saying, really? That's amazing. You can do it by not giving guests a good experience. So the other thing we track is our net promoter scores from our guests. We call them guest feedback scores. Those have risen steadily as we've invested from about 89% to 95%. So we're running very happy guests. We're getting return on investment, and the profit side of our balance sheet is doing extremely well. At the same time, we've tripled our investment on the impact side of our personal balance sheet. We've provided water to 56,000 people in the communities. We built 285 classrooms. We're 99% plastic free now as an entire company, and we're working down our supply chain to get rid of plastic in our supply chains. We've moved lions to Rwanda. We've moved 85 rhino to Botswana. We've set up a marine conservation platform across 3 islands and 2,000 kilometers of coastline. And it goes on. We've created 14,000 turtle hatchlings across those islands. So I just premise that if you think you have to trade profit versus purpose, think again. They can coexist. Most importantly, the more you focus on doing good, the better you're going to do and do well financially. And I can show you the proven statistics behind it.
That's great, Joss. Amazing. Thank you for sharing. You know, I think the powerful thing that you said is that profit and purpose can exist on the same sheet of paper. That's quotable. That's a very powerful statement. Let's move on to a thought around the advisors. How would you recommend advisors best prepare to talk to their clients about Ambion and other partners when it comes to sustainability?
My advice would be do the hard research across your whole supplier base. And that does take time. And I'm sure you're going to find all the partner properties will help you. They'll want to give you the information. Do enough of that research and get comfortable enough with the information that you're not frightened to broach that with your clients. Of course, a lot of this is technical, but a lot of it isn't. And the more you get comfortable with the knowledge, and certainly the suppliers you want to work with, the better engagement you're going to have with your clients. And the reason that's important is, one, because I think your clients are going to be far more focused on this post-COVID. They really, really do want to understand who they're doing their trips with, and not just Africa, and this is globally. They travel differently. They're going to spend a lot more with you than someone else who isn't focused on this. So it is in your interest to get that knowledge. Don't be frightened of the knowledge, and don't be frightened of opening up the conversation with your clients. They will welcome it. Whether it's Ambion or anyone else, I can assure you that if you reach out and ask us to help you in that, we're very open to it. And I know all the companies in our space are open to it. All of this conservation sustainability is going to require coalitions of effort, not just safari companies, but between Virtuoso and a bunch of partner companies, between technology, banking, etc. If we're really going to come out of COVID difference, and I guess our mission statement is striving to leave the world a better place through extraordinary guest experiences, then this is the time to make that change. And the advisors are in a perfect position. They've got respect, they've got experience, they've got knowledge. It's good for your business, it's good for the planet, and it's certainly good for your guests.
Excellent. I think you've made some key points for advisors to take home. And one of the key things is that they can do this and make a difference. Would you expand also on your thoughts around collaboration?
I think it's probably down to this conservation coalition idea. We all compete. I'm very competitive. I know you're Virtuoso is competitive. We're all competitive. But when it comes to impact and sustainability for the world we're in, everyone needs to link together in a certain regard. And so my door is always open to work with competitors and other people where I think our conservation agenda or impact agenda could get us faster by working together. And so from the advisor's perspective, again, they should build up that knowledge of who's doing what and be able to reach out and ask us for that information. You should push that agenda if you're an advisor. If you know the space and you think there's an opportunity, I'd welcome a call from an advisor saying, I think you should be doing this with this person, or I've met that person in my network, or one of my clients, he or she could be one of the people who could propel your plans faster. So use the networks. The advisors are incredibly well connected, and so they should view themselves as one of the cogs in the purpose machine, and not just an advisor to it or some transactional piece. And the more they invest in it, I think they'll find it very rewarding on many fronts, not just from a business perspective, but across that. And then, we just re-looking at luxury, transformative travel, we have these monikers for what we think people want. We're in a world we can't afford monikers. We can't afford just luxury or transformative travel. We need proper sustainable impact. And that's not just for 1 year. That's not a marketing term. That's 10, 15 years. That's my children's generation. Take a long-term view and then work back how you want to be involved, how you want your guests to be involved, and then engage. And there's no such thing, no stupid questions in impact, I can assure you.
I love that, Joss. This has been incredible. Thank you for your time, your insight. You've amplified that purpose and profit belong together. So powerful. You've given great ideas and tips so that advisors can walk away with a better understanding. Thanks for encouraging us, and great to see you.
You're very welcome. I wish I was there in person this year again, but not to be.
Us too. Another time for sure. Thank you.
Definitely. All right, you take care.
So as we move to the narrower end of the funnel, time to hear from two people who are planning these sustainable trips for their clients. First, Helena Andrea is the owner of Travel Beyond in Stockholm, who along with her advisors offers sustainable trips that are custom designed for their clients, combining high-end accommodations and services, designed to let clients do the right thing and enjoy their amazing journeys. And then Diana Brooke, a Virtuoso advisor based in Australia whose entire business model is around sustainability. First up, Helena. Hello, Helena. Thank you so much for joining us for Under One Sky. It's so great to have you here.
Hi, Jessica. It's an honor to be here. Real pleasure.
We know we can talk for hours, but let's get started. You have certainly been a leader in this space. From an agency owner perspective, I'd love for you to share some of your initiatives around sustainability.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'm from Sweden, the land of Greta Thunberg, which of course everyone knows who she is, and she has had a huge impact on all of us, I think, worldwide. But especially here in Sweden, we are very proud of her. But when she started making a scene a couple of, 18 months ago or so, the first thing that happened was that a term called fly shame was created. And that really was something we felt that we had to address. And all of a sudden, our clients were not feeling comfortable about traveling and talking about it, which we believe is not the full picture. So being with the times, I wanted to unite my team around this question. So we hired a consultant, first of all, to take us through and educate us on the whole sustainability issue, the facts and figures and science like Greta is talking about. And then when we were all through that, we felt more united and with a purpose. And we did a few things here in the office as well to make less footprint. And we decided to climate compensate all our own travels, both private and within the company. But then we moved forward, and I wanted the team to feel more confident in talking about this with the clients. So one of the things we started with was actively addressing this question early on in the conversations with the clients, so that when a client calls and say, as an example, want to go to the Maldives, my travel advisor would ask, how important is sustainability to your travel plans? And then the client might say, well, I haven't really thought about it. Sure, we'll look into it. Or absolutely, it's very important. Or no, I'll just want to go here and there. So by addressing it early on, we felt that we owned the conversation, and our travel advisors felt more comfortable. And also, we truly, truly believe that travel does far more good in the world than bad. And this is something that I think that we can not stop talking about, really, especially now. I think it's evident during COVID, when travel has practically ceased to exist. What a terrible impact that has, and that really isn't an option for the future. We have to find a balance, but tens of millions of people have lost their job, and people are starving because of this. So what we want to do moving forward, I guess, is to keep working on this important issue, but implement it and make sure people are educated on what it means and the difference you actually make. we travel, we send a lot of clients to Africa, for instance, and there you have a lot of important projects, both for the communities, but also for animal and wildlife. And without travel, that wouldn't even be possible. So we really see with our own eyes the positive impacts of travel as well. And then I guess we just have to keep working harder to create sustainable options. And I believe they're coming for sure. You see that, but it takes time.
Fantastic. That's incredible. Wow, you've really given some great examples that other agencies can try in their own business. You have united your staff and taught them how to own the conversation with their client around sustainability. That's powerful. Helena, thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you again for being here today. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I love being here. Thank you.
Hi, Diana. Great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. You've been a judge for our Sustainability Awards, and sustainable travel is your primary focus. You're a genius at it. Share your passion with our audience. Let us know what got you started to be a sustainable advisor.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica, for having me on. What got me started in focusing on sustainability in travel and tourism was a few years ago, I just felt that it had this stigma, and that, consumers were thinking that it was difficult, it was expensive, what did they have to do really? And I knew that I could help drive the change and change that travel narrative, that sustainable travel isn't as difficult or expensive or, confusing as people were thinking. And I really wanted to help, change the attitudes and biases that sustainable travel had at the time. And a few years ago, I started my company, The Sustainable Traveller, and it allowed me to be able to ask the questions to suppliers and tour operators about what it is that they were doing for the environment. And the stories and that I was being told, I was sharing those with my consumers and, with my networks on LinkedIn and social media, and helping travelers make much more informed decisions and, mindful choices about where they were choosing to travel and how and what were they experiencing, and really explaining to them that, you can travel and be sustainable, and you can, benefit the environment. You can, support local communities and help preserve cultures and heritage and do all the things that you enjoy doing, but also helping the environment at the same time. And I think that really resonated with people. And you know what? I think they were really, happy to have help in doing and navigating this as well. And for me, just creating transparency with what our amazing travel partners are doing and sharing that with consumers was one of the motivations, a real driver in what I was doing at the time and what I continue to do now.
Great, really great. I know you have many ways of how you speak to your clients that truly help them to understand and start the conversation. Can you tell us about your methodology?
Yeah. Over the years, I've tried a lot of different methods, tried and tested a lot of things. And I've been, a travel advisor for almost 20 years now. I've booked, travel for entertainment clients, corporate clients, high-end luxury clients. And I get all the pain points that you might have with your client. How can I talk about sustainability with them? And I think the easiest thing to think of and remember as a travel advisor is it's not about being perfect or having to know every single little thing. It's about doing what you can, when you can, and just trying to swap or trying to look at, maximizing, positive benefits to the environment and minimizing the negative impacts. So if you think of it that way, that'll help you kind of, look at how you can kind of incorporate sustainability into any trip. And I've devised over the years, like a 3-step plan, which is I'd like to share with travel advisors to help them. And that is to think of it as a dip your toe kind of start, like a little sprinkle of it. Maybe consider reusable bottles, cutlery, a cloth bag that the client can travel with, and you may have a client that might be looking to do a little bit more. So you look at submerge a little bit of, adding a little bit extra, perhaps an eco hotel stay, swapping a short flight for a coach transfer or a car or a motorhome. There's so many different options. And then you might have a client that's like, okay, I'm willing to give this a go, and they're all in. And I kind of call that the dive client. And that's when you might look at completely swapping, their experiences from one experience to another to try something completely different. And all of that, if you think about how that travel can incorporate benefits to the environment, benefits to the local community, to the local culture, to the social economic development of the place that they're going to see, you will find that adding a little bit of sustainability into your clients' travels will be pretty easy. And it's just taking those small steps each time to get to a point where you're confident and comfortable in talking about it with your clients.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thanks for making it so simple and doable. I have thoroughly enjoyed our time together. Appreciate you taking the time for us. Thank you so much, Diana.
Thank you so much again, Jessica and Matthew and the whole Virtuoso travel community for, always shining a light on sustainability. It's the way forward, and hopefully we can all do more of it. So.
Wow, that was amazing. What incredible insight, how inspiring and real. I trust you've been uplifted by the possibilities and the examples you heard from our guests today. Giving those tangible examples, large and small, of how we can make a difference. How a time of great disruption can also be a time of opportunity to learn, to adjust, and to set an intentional path for a conscious comeback. And showing us that profit and purpose can coexist on a truly balanced balance sheet. What can you do? Members and advisors, join our sustainability community. Tap into stories in Virtuoso Life and Virtuoso.com to excite your clients about the possibilities for their travels. Play with Wanderlist sustainability theme and use our partners' profile information as a resource. I'd encourage you to use this global pause to learn more and start the conversation. We don't have to be perfect, just engaged. Start where you are right now, today. And partners, join our sustainability community if you feel you have a story to share and tell. Help advisors share it by adding your sustainability story to your company's profile on Virtuoso.com and start the conversation. We can do this together. Be a voice, be an advocate, lead the way in your organization and with your clients. And Virtuoso will continue to work with you to be a voice for change. I'd like to once again thank Joel, Penny, Joss, Helena, Diana for providing us with their wisdom and inspiration. And now, here's another inspiration from our sponsor, And Beyond. Enjoy.
Once upon a time, responsible travel was about taking photos and leaving only footprints. But at And Beyond, we believe we need to do better for our wild places. Together with our guests, we feel compelled to take memories and leave a legacy. But to tell the story properly, we need to start at the beginning. And in the beginning was Pinder.
It's quite remarkable how the idea of Pinder was born. One of the ideas was to try and find a more secure means of funding conservation other than government funding. When I was first shown the property, we drove past private game farms, we drove past pineapple farms, we drove into cattle farms, and for us it was a great opportunity to secure wildlife land. I had to try and turn those brown and white cattle into black buffalo. And there's nothing more rewarding than seeing a herd of animals run out onto a piece of land that they haven't been seen on for 100 years. There were a whole pile of things that had never been done before. We were the first reserve to reintroduce cheetah and lion to the same reserve. And then we were the first private reserve to get adult elephants. And we got the adult elephants to help settle the sub-adults that we'd got out of the Kruger National Park. Today, it's all wildlife. We've had significant successes. We've expanded the land, we've expanded all of the wildlife populations, and we've expanded the benefits to the people outside of the parks.
The success of Phinda crystallized and beyond's core values: care of the land, care of the wildlife, and care of the people. Now, nearly 30 years down the road on this incredible impact journey, and Beyond's evolved business plan of creating sustainable conservation through responsible tourism has stood the test of time and resonates across 3 continents and 21 countries, including our Virtuoso on-site destinations of South Africa, Kenya, Tanzania, Bhutan, and Chile. The care pillars also expand seamlessly into Oceans Without Borders mantra of care of the oceans, care of the marine life, and care of island communities. Our impact engine is powered by our extraordinary guest experiences, the touch point to which we always return. If land, wildlife, and people are the heroes of this story, then the villains in this tale are all the evil forces that conspire to oppose them. Overcoming these forces requires a multi-pronged approach, and our army of passionate staff and expert guiding teams are more than up for the task as we roll out our guest-centric sustainability battle strategies. From investment in state-of-the-art renewable energy and wastewater management systems, to energy-efficient building practices and produce cultivation. From adaptive reserve management and leading conservation practices, to actively implementing measures across the group to reduce our carbon footprint, and Beyond cares for the land. Whether by crafting authentic, unique guest conservation experiences and impact journeys, or through thought leadership that has helped to reverse local extinctions like the gar in India or Aedes dica in Member Island, and habituate leopards in India and jaguars in South America, and Beyond cares for the wildlife. A commitment demonstrated through our strategic partnerships and collaborations. In fact, relationships and partnerships are our most secret weapon of all. We believe that the communities around the protected areas where we operate need to have a stake in conservation, to see the land and wildlife as something that belongs to them. The compounded impact of our collaboration for more than 27 years with the Africa Foundation has had meaningful benefit to 73 rural communities in 6 African countries. And so while this is the end of our story, it is actually just a new beginning, because the journey of learning, growing, discovering, understanding never ends. We believe in happily ever after. And so we create opportunities for that rare and discerning traveler to encounter the world as it should be, so that they are changed by their intimate encounter with the world at balance with itself, and are empowered to then leave a legacy while making unforgettable memories.
Thank you, Tourism Monaco and Beyond, for your generous support of Under One Sky. And to all of you for joining us today, I'm deeply grateful to you and inspired and energized by your desire to be a part of this important conversation. Enjoy your connections this week. Join us for our closing session on Thursday to hear from a passionate and powerful businesswoman and entrepreneur. Our keynote, Sheila Johnson.